Hi, I'm your host, Anand J. Sukadia, and this is the Limitless One Podcast. Join me on this journey as I interview the most inspirational souls who are tapping into their limitless blueprint on a mental, physical, and spiritual level to thrive in uncertain times. If you feel you are so much more than just this body, just this life, and want to tap into your limitless potential, you're in the right place. Here we go, starseeds. The Limitless One Podcast is back, everybody. Welcome to the new year, 2024. Wishing you all the very best in this upcoming year. It's going to be a year of magic and opportunity and so many different potentials. And today, I'm so blessed to have the most important person in my life, my wife, my business partner, my puppy mama, my baby mama, all of the above, my everything, Kate Sukadia.
Thank you for having me back after we took a little hiatus. The last time I was on podcasting with you was in 2021, early in 2021. So this is going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was crazy because we actually had to look it up the last time we had this conversation. We talk every day, obviously.
Obviously.
I would hope so, being married.
But I probably talk way more than you do, and you probably want me to be quiet at times, but yes.
Yeah, but we wanted to reflect, just personally, we wanted to reflect on the last couple of years, and we went back to the podcast that we recorded together in 2021. Like you said, we were only, what was it, like 8 or 9 months into dating?
Yeah, maybe like 10, 11.
Okay. Yeah. But at that time, time is all relative. But at that time, we were very new into the relationship, but we actually had a really deep connection spiritually, emotionally, physically, in every way. And at that time, I knew I wanted you as my life partner. And I think that you felt the same way. And we even talked about it on the podcast, but we kind of forgot about what we talked about. So we ended up going back and listening to it on a drive to a Christmas party. It was like 40 minutes each way. And it was so funny because we put it on like 1.5 speed to listen to the podcast. And by the time we left and came back, the podcast was we listened to the entire thing in that exact time.
Yeah. It was absolutely perfect. And it was beautiful to reflect on where we were, both individually, where we were as a couple. And it was so cute to listen to us. And it's also so beautiful to see how far we've also come individually and together as a couple, and how much has changed and shifted, but in such a beautiful way. So I think we are big on just reflection in general, whether that's reflecting after a month, after a year, things that happen in our relationship. And I think it's so important for couples to do together. And it was really beautiful that we have that timestamp, or that stamp in time of who we were, and can go back and listen to it at any time. And I'm sure at some point we'll listen to this one and be really excited with how much our life has progressed since. So thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness, it's absolutely my pleasure. I think a lot of times in life, we're always planting the seeds for the future. And when we're planting those seeds back in 2021, we talked a lot about the things that are going on in our life right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's wild is like, I got goosebumps thinking about, like we talked about, obviously our deep love and connection and the future that we wanted to have and growing a family. And now we're in a position where just in a couple of short weeks, we're going to be parents.
We're going to meet our little baby.
Yeah. So it's so beautiful to see that and know that everything that we're thinking now in 2 years, what's going to happen, what are the potentials?
Yeah.
And what I love about our relationship is that every day gets better, every year gets better. We open up a horizon, because if we have this dream life that we want to create, we're limited by our own thinking.
Yeah.
And every single year, our thinking expands and more possibilities open up, more people come into our life, and more opportunities. And it's so beautiful to see that and to experience that with you, because this is really the first time I've ever been in a relationship that I feel totally supported and totally loved, and someone who looks at me and knows who I am at the core.
Yeah.
And to co-create with you is such an honor.
Yeah. And same here. And a lot of the podcast from 2021 was about taking action, about manifestation. And I think it's so beautiful in our relationship that that's what we are about, is about planting seeds, but being patient holding space for each other, holding space for ourselves, having our individual lives and things that we both want individually, but things that we want together, and allowing that space and time to let those things come to fruition, how they're meant to come to fruition, and knowing in our heart of hearts that like nothing that is meant for the two of us will pass us by, and holding really strong on those beliefs and really being here to support one another, because a lot of the things that maybe we talked about that we wanted in 2021, maybe they didn't happen right away for us, such as, you know, having our baby. Our baby won't be here until 2024, but it's something that we wanted so deeply and we were already trying in early 2021. And we had to be really patient and know that it was coming, it was on its way, and how that was going to look for us is up to the universe. But we held space for each other to feel our feelings, go through the emotions, and really hold strong on the belief that it's coming and it's coming for us. So it's an honor to walk through life with you. And yeah, thank you.
I think that's such an important point that you make is, a lot of times things don't happen just like this, even though sometimes manifestations can come that quickly, but it's all about trusting, but also maintaining our energy, knowing that it's happening, and not to stress about what we don't have, because every time we desire something and we put so much energy into that, it pushes it further into the future. Oh, in the future, one day I'll have this, this, and this, rather than getting into that feeling of that moment when we were talking. And I was reading that letter that I wrote to you years ago, and, you know, about my future wife and things like that. But having those feelings, having that, holding that space of, okay, one day we're going to be parents. I'm feeling the parents like energy, and having that with us this whole time. And then these things happen. And it's so important that the energy that we maintain, because look, 2021 wasn't the easiest year, you know, in terms of my business. It was really stressful. We're just coming off a pandemic. There was a lot of changes. You were going through a lot of changes with work and not being fulfilled
personally
at your corporate job, and going through the healing process for both of us individually, coming together as a couple and trying to maintain and bring our best to each other every single day. So it's important to know that, look, everything might not be perfect at this moment, but as long as we maintain that energy, that things are going to get better and better and better. And just knowing the universe will always bring us to the place in which we need to be to learn the lesson. Sometimes we go through detours and whatnot, but it's always going to bring us back to our highest purpose.
Yeah. And I think we're big on not living in the I'll be happy when, which is easy to get into that habit. It's really easy to have that as your default. I'll be happy when this happens. I'll be happy when. And we were just happy. We were happy being together, happy with our lives, happy with our, you know, ourselves. And that is really important so that we can be in the right frequency and energy to manifest, again, what we know in our heart of hearts is meant for us. But never letting that be our baseline. We were happy regardless of what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. It's incredible. So, you know, maybe we could just go back in time.
Yeah, do a little timeline.
Do a little
timeline of life. Yes.
Yeah. So tell us, how did we meet?
How did we meet? So I'll kind of recap the podcast from 2021, because we talk a lot about that. And I think like 2020 was for both of us, you know, maybe you agree or maybe not, I don't know. It was kind of exploratory. Like we were exploring ourselves. Your business was closed because of the pandemic. For those of you that don't know, Anand owns a wellness center here in Jersey City where we live, and the wellness center was closed, right? And so like you had to explore who you were outside of that business. And also, it's when you started your podcast. That's when our relationship began. So it's such a beautiful phase of our relationship. But we knew each other because of the wellness center. I was a client there. And during the pandemic, we started meeting up. We were going for walks and just were getting to know each other. And I was also going through a lot personally, as it's when you know, I always call it sort of like when I hit my rock bottom, realizing how disconnected I was from who it is that I truly am, from my core, from my heart. And through that, I was going through this major healing process, working with healers, plant medicine, going to different events, like literally trial and error, trying absolutely everything to really connect deeper to who it is that I am. So you were really there to hold space for me in that sense, and also allow our relationship to take place and blossom in the way that it was going to, regardless of the way that what we were both going through. Again, you with your business and me more personally. And so, yeah, we started going for walks, and then those walks turned into dates. And then before we know it, like we are just like deep in this relationship that is so heartfelt and beautiful. And so deep, right? That by 2021, when we were recording the podcast, we both know, like we both, I mean, again, you said it before and I'll say it here too, is that like we both knew that we were meant to be together. Like the universe brought us together. And if you look at all the things that had to happen and take place for us to meet, it's so beautiful. But we both knew. And how we got there is both that we were really clear on what it is that we wanted. You went to a Tony Robbins event. You had wrote this amazing, beautiful letter. Go back to the podcast from March of 2021 and listen to it. But you wrote this letter before having met me. And without knowing who you were writing that letter about, it was just the feelings and how you wanted to feel in the relationship that was meant for you. And you read it every day and you felt into those emotions. And then here I am doing the work as well, where I'm just like putting a list together of the things and qualities that I want in a partner and reflecting on them and saying, am I all of those things for myself? Am I all of those things, not that it needs to be tit for tat, but am I all of those things for the individual that I want to attract? Because we know that relationships are just mirrors. So we're both here kind of doing the same work, not knowing each other, not knowing what we're both doing. But again, the universe brings us together in such a beautiful, harmonious way. And that was our 2020. That was our meeting. That was our exploratory year of exploring ourselves and exploring our relationship together and what that could look like.
Yeah, beautiful. So well said. The only thing I will say is when we were first meeting, there was so much like chaos around the world going on and the business uncertainty and all these things that I had to really just like disconnect. It was one of the times in which I had to look inward the most and, really tap into my spirituality because there was so much upheaval going on. So for me, I tried to look everything in like my past. Like in my past, I would try to control every aspect of my life, thinking that I can do this, I can do this, and this is what the expectation is for my relationships. And everything was so rigid that I decided, okay, I'm just going to let go of all expectation, all control of any situation, and just come with an open heart and show up that way. And I think that the reason that you came into my life is because I decided, okay, I realized the ways that I was going about life wasn't necessarily working for me. So by giving up, that's when you learn the lesson, that's when new things come in. So you kind of like unlock that level of mastery or unlock that level of the video game. And then now you don't have to repeat those same things. As long as we're willing to look at things in a different way and kind of go inwards and say, okay, how am I responsible for the outcomes of what I have in life? And if I want different outcomes, then I have to change my thinking in order to create new actions, in order to create new results.
Yeah. And control is just an illusion. And coming from a control freak myself, or maybe retired control freak, all of those things, like, again, it's just an illusion. So the moment that we realize that life is going to happen and how it's going to happen can be so magical and just allow it to flow. I think that we white knuckle so many things in life where we're just holding on to, it has to look this way. I have to meet this person. I have to be married by this time, have this many babies, do this with my career. And then you wake up one day and you're like, I don't even recognize myself. It's sort of what happened to me in the past, is that I was controlling all the things in my life and thought it needed to look a certain way. And then I woke up one day and I was just so unhappy with who I had become, the life that I was living, because I realized that it was just me thinking that I was in control of, but not actually letting life flow and letting my heart's desires actually take me where I am meant to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So like going back to I'll be happy when, so much of us live in that. And I lived in that kind of modality for a long time in my life. Once I started realizing that my life is amazing the way it is, I am falling in love with myself. I am so happy in the right now moments and know that it's only getting better and better and better. Not like my life is not fun now or not happy now. And in the future, when I meet this person, then I'll be happy. No, you can't live that way because it's always, you're pushing that further and further away and you're not working on what's going on right now in order to attract that frequency of happiness and love and success and abundance. We have to start living into that. And that's really, I think, the biggest thing. And it's so funny because I've done self-development for a very long time and I've known the law of attraction. But until you're ready to really take on these tasks and live with it on a like everyday basis and live it from your heart, then maybe I was just going through it intellectually and not really realizing it has to come from the heart. So I've known intellectually for a long time that this was what I needed to do, but I wasn't ready to just until a couple of years ago. So it's, we're always evolving. We're always understanding ourselves better. and the more we can understand ourselves, the more we can love ourselves, then we can start making some really amazing changes in life.
Yeah, it's integrating all of the work. And I think it's something big that you realize when we're doing this reflection or when we're reflecting personally is realizing that something that you might have taken on or learned a certain phase of life is coming back around. And this time you're integrating it so differently, so quickly. If you think of life as that game, if you think of it as a Nintendo game, you breeze through certain levels in the game that you've played before because you've sort of integrated that into your life. And I think that's what all of these lessons that we have here in life are meant to teach us. And again, how we integrate them and when we integrate them is up to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's 2022. Now we move into 2021, where we are doing this podcast in March 2021. Again, go back and listen to it. You start. What was happening in 2021?
Yeah, so 2021, around that time, what we decided to do is we were obviously looking to move in together, but we were so new into the relationship, less than a year. We wanted to kind of make sure the little bit of a trial. So I had my condo is like 10 minutes away from, where we live now. We live in the same building that you were living in, which is right next to my business, which is super convenient. So anyways, you were coming in at night, like basically staying over every night and in the morning and working out of there a little bit.
Yeah. So basically you would go to work, which is right across from where I was living. You would go to the wellness center, you would work, we would coordinate like what time I would be done with work, what time you'd be done. You'd pick me up and then we go spend the night at your house. I turned my little apartment into a healing studio where I had clients coming in for breathwork sessions. And we didn't want, I actually got rid of all my furniture, most of my furniture, and really turned this into a studio because we really wanted to experience life like as if that was my job, that was my work. I was going there and then going home at night together to make sure that it flowed, that it felt easy. We're all about things feeling easy and being in flow. So we wanted to make sure that that worked for us.
Yeah, and it did. I mean,
yeah, I don't really remember, but I obviously worked.
Seems like such a long time ago, but yeah, I mean, like in terms of like cleanliness, in terms of like food and all this kind of stuff. No, but I mean, some people are like slobs, and some people are not. So everything kind of meshed. Like we weren't getting each other's space too much. We had a little bit room in there, as well as the place we have right now. To have our own space and to work out of an office if we need to work out of a bedroom, whatever it is. But it was a nice trial. And I think that it's a good idea always to just kind of tiptoe into it, because we do know people that are in a great relationship, start living together, and then they realize, okay, this is not compatible based on lifestyles and whatnot. We're both like super early sleepers. So.
We go to bed early, we wake up early, we have our routines, but it all meshed really, really easily from what I remember. And we did that for almost 6 months. I remember that being like February of 2021. And then we moved in together in August of 2021. So yeah, 6 months. And I recommend that for anyone. And not that your place is like an out or having that second place, but having a little space, making sure it works and making sure you're really in alignment.
Absolutely. And I think one of the really cool things we were able to do is find an apartment. Actually, it was in the same building that you're in, which is right across the street from my business. So like my time is so valuable to me. To have literally a 3-minute commute walking over to work is so powerful, because time is so precious. Like that's the only irreplaceable commodity in our lives. Money can always be replaced. Material possessions can always be replaced, but the people in your life and your time is something that I value so much. So having an opportunity to do that. And now it makes so much sense, because we just jumping forward a little bit, we just recently re-signed to stay here for another 18 months, but it's such a blessing, because our baby is going to be born, and I don't want to be like not around
commuting, even though it was a short commute before, but you don't want to be commuting. You want to utilize every second that you have. I want to be able to pop over with a baby and say hi when dad is at work. And also, little did we know then that I would be working with you eventually, that besides the events, but also doing the marketing and a lot of that side of the business. So we didn't know when we moved in together that it was going to be convenient for both of us, but it has been very convenient for both of us.
Absolutely. It's the best. And a lot of people say, oh, you should live so close to work, but honestly, it's the reverse for us. It's so much more beneficial in life to have this kind of situation. All right. So now we we're end of 2021. I kind of want to jump into one of the most magical experiences, and something that's stayed with us for all this time is end of 2021. We started getting a lot of different people in our lives talking to us about, oh, hey, I just went to Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation retreat. I was thinking about you during that time. It happened to me a few times within a span of a week. And similarly for you, I know one of your friends reached out to you from the event as well.
Yeah, another breathwork practitioner that I've met on Instagram, and we've become friendly. She reached out, and she was basically going to one of the events and wanted to know, like, I think you might be interested in this. Like, do you know Dr. Joe? Do you follow Dr. Joe Dispenza? If not, get into his work, see if you like it, and would love to go together. So yeah, we were both hearing about it, and going back to our podcast from 2021, when there are enough breadcrumbs for us, these stepping stones, pings, pools, whatever it is that you want to call it, we know we have to take action.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a sign from the universe that, hey, it's a big freaking blaring sign. Hey, you got to do this, especially when other people, and I've done self-development for a very long time. I've done different courses, different people. Never has anyone ever said, hey, I think you would like this, and all happening at once. I think it was 3 different people. And to happen all at once, it's like, okay, it's a no-brainer. So we looked up one of the courses, and I think it was a little, we missed out because we were too late on the application.
We went to register for December of 2021. We went to register for that event, which was in Cancun, and we missed the registration by like 15, 20, 30 minutes. We didn't realize that when the event opens, you need to register the moment that the event opens. So we missed that one. But then there was another event that was opening up in January that we just so happened to already have a trip booked to South Florida. So I used to live in South Florida. So we were going together to visit some friends, and the retreat ended up being in South Florida around that exact same time. So we were kind of already planning to take time off, already be there. It was on the other coast. It was on the west coast of Florida, where we planned to be on the east coast. But regardless, it was, again, just a stepping stone with the ping, the breadcrumb from the universe, like saying, here you go. You were already planning on this. You guys need to do this together.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just had to switch our flights by like one day.
A few days, yeah.
And it was at a time where we didn't even book the hotels yet. We booked the flights, but we never booked the hotels. So it was great. So we could then book the hotels in Marco Island on the West Coast. It's only 2 hours away from Fort Lauderdale, where we're staying. And then we planned this whole amazing trip. And then during that time, once we got into this event, we had I think it was like a month and a half or so to prep. And we realized, okay, there's like almost 27 hours of material that we have to go through, different meditation techniques, different lectures and things like that we had to do.
Yeah, basically, Dr. Joe Dispenza wants you to be really prepped for the event, be ready for what is going to happen, have a foundation before coming to the week-long event. So we get started on that like early December, maybe end of November. We get started on all of that work. And yeah, maybe you can share a little bit about that and how that was looking for us, and how, again, I keep using the word beautiful, but it was such an important phase of our relationship.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest parts of it he talks about is having real conviction in what you want to manifest, and the words that you use, the thoughts that you project. Everything is like every thought that you have is a frequency that's attracting something. So the words that we speak, if they're being negative, if we're talking about other people, if we're doing things that are low vibrational energy, that's what you're going to get more of. If you're staying in high vibrations, or if you have a inspired thought, you got to act on it.
Yeah.
So, just right before we went to the event, we were sitting on Christmas, I think it was. We were sitting on our couch just talking about what we want to attract. And I think I mentioned something about like, oh, it'd be so nice to have a puppy to cuddle with, because I love puppies. I love dogs. And every time we see one in our building prior, we were always like, oh my goodness, we need to get one. And we kind of like we're looking at golden doodles.
Yeah.
And you said, listen, if we want to do this,
let's just do it. Again, yeah. I was taking all of the information, the lessons from Dr. Joe's work, and again, who it is that we are when we know anything about manifestation, we know to take action. And I was just like, let's just do it.
Yeah, let's just pull the trigger.
We can make all the excuses. We want to be able to travel. We want, we don't have time for a pup, whatever it is. But we were just like, let's just do it. Yeah. That's it.
And then we did. And then that same day, I was looking at Instagram, and one of our friends in the building posted that he just got a golden doodle puppy. And I reached out to him, and he told us about this breeder that's in Pennsylvania in Lancaster area. And then we reached out to the guy, and he's like, oh yeah, there's no more puppies from the litter that your friend got from, but we have a new litter. And we have, basically in a couple of weeks, it's going to be ready.
So we were like, well, what's the exact date that the pup would be ready? When would he be ready to come home? And he says January 22nd. And then so we look at our flights, our itinerary for going to Florida. And I'm arriving, I stay a little longer to visit with some friends after the Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat. And the 22nd is when I'm returning early that morning. And so we're like, okay, we're picking up this guy on 1/22/22. We're picking up our pup. So it couldn't have been any better timing for the two of us. And it just goes to show when you want something, when you have that conviction, it just shows up with such ease.
Yeah, it was perfect synchronicity, just like everything was. And we went to go visit him literally the day after we spoke to the breeder, went to go meet him, and he was just the most beautiful little guy. And I picked him up.
He's sitting behind us right now.
Yeah, he's sitting behind us
sleeping.
Right now. And I picked him up and he looked in my eyes and he said, "Will you be my daddy?" Like, I could swear it. He said it. I literally heard it in my ears. I don't know exactly what was going on, but that moment, I just knew in my heart that I wanted to bring him home and be his daddy.
Yeah. And us being who it is that we are and being a little on the woo-woo side, I know that when I picked up our pup and I held him on my chest, I remember holding him and his heart was beating so fast. And slowly I just kept like talking to him and petting him, and then our heart synced. His heart, like the heartbeat calmed down, he calmed down, and our heart synced. And I swear from that moment, like, we've been soulmates.
Yeah. And side story, we talked to a lady that's able to talk to pets, I guess.
Yes.
Like a pet psychic. I don't know what you call them. Believe it or not.
Medium.
Whatever
maybe?
It is. But without knowing anything about Kate and our dog Oni's relationship, she said, "You guys are soulmates." And I can't believe it, because as much as he loves me, and he loves me a lot, but like, you are his like goddess, and he will do anything for you, and he's always around you, and it's so beautiful. So yeah, so going into like 2022, that was really the year of becoming in the energy of parents and bringing him home, and immediately having just such a deep love for this little guy. He brought so much happiness into our life. And, we talked about this as like, okay, we want to become parents and have kids. Let's get into the energy of it. Let's get into the feelings of being parents and having a dog. And he's literally like a little human. We don't even look at him as a dog. He's like our son. But getting into that feeling puts us into that vibration. And then, a year and a half later, we were able to, have that connection, to have that baby.
To conceive. And also, I mean, again, we talked about this in 2021 is when we started to try to conceive. And it didn't happen for us right away, but we just kept holding space for it, kept leaning into the feelings of being parents. But I think that getting our pup really put us in that frequency of like, I'm mama and he's dada. And like, we use those words, and really, really harnessing that energy for ourselves to create.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, if you look at it from a practical perspective, dogs take a lot of energy, especially as puppies. We got them in the middle of winter, and it was so cold out, and like, you have to take them out at 3 a.m. We live in a high rise, taking the elevator down, going outside, so windy. I mean, there's so many reasons. 3 times a day, 4 times a day, you got to go walk them, food, expenses, all these things. There's a lot of reasons practically not to get a dog. But then when you have the experience of that unconditional love that he gives you, it's a no-brainer. And that's the thing in life is like, it's never the perfect time for anything. If you look at it from a practical perspective, you could always be doing something else. But when you want to experience and open up your heart and open up so many different things, he's bringing so much value into our lives that I couldn't even imagine not having him in our lives.
Yeah. And I don't remember what life was like before having him. And I assume when the baby comes, we won't remember what life was like before having our baby. It's just like he's always been there. But yeah, it put us in the right frequency, the right mindset. And I think it's something that we learned a lot from Dr. Joe's work is, again, being in that frequency, being in the right mindset as if it's already happened, but really letting the universe surprise you on how it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, dovetailing into the rest of 2022, we really engulfed ourselves in this work of meditation, and doing meditations every single day, no matter what. We didn't try to make any excuses. We went to 3 different retreats that year. in January, April, and then in December to close out the year.
Mm-hmm.
And December is like one of the most, busiest months for me in terms of my business and stuff like that. But you know what, we said it was so important that for us to go there, that we actually had one of the most amazing months anyways, even though we put all the work in prior to make sure that it flows and everything while we're not there. But just to show you, like, sometimes we think we have to be present and we have to do all these things. And if we're not there, things won't happen the way we want it to, but really just trusting and flowing of the universe and, putting our intentions out there.
Yeah, we can tell ourselves all the stories, right? All the stories on why 3 retreats, the expense of 3 retreats, being away from the business for over 3 weeks in total. We had a puppy at this point, so then we had to have daycare for our pup for the event that we went to in April and the one that we went to in December. But, you can make all the excuses. You can make all the stories about why things just aren't right or you're not going to do it. But I know that we really don't want to be living our lives in that way. So we really push ourselves and push each other to say yes more often.
Absolutely. And I know September was a really big month for you,
especially 2022. Yeah,
2022, because of knowing the feelings that you wanted in life, and then the disconnect sometimes with working in corporate America. So maybe you can share your story about making the decision regarding your work and your what you've been doing for the last 20 years.
Yeah, the last 20 years.
Has it been? 15 years? How many years have you been working?
I'm not that old. Don't age me. So yeah, I was working in corporate America. I was in sales for 13 years.
13 years, okay.
I'm not old enough to be working for 20 years. So for 13 years, I was living in that rat race of monthly numbers, annual numbers, hitting goals, hitting quotas, KPIs. It's a very masculine energy. And I feel like it really was deflating the feminine energy and the flow that I really want to live my life by, really taking me out of my heart space. Because of course you can't be on a sales call and be deeply in your heart. You can be slightly, which I learned, but you can't be in your heart and just, giving away product, right? You're trying to make a living. You're trying to make commissions. And yeah. And so I worked for really amazing companies and had a really great experience with all of them, but I know it wasn't aligned for me. And I think that's really hard for someone to come to the realization of when something's not in alignment, but it's not bad. The companies I work for were great. They're great, amazing companies, great benefits. I was making a lot of money. I absolutely love my manager in the last job. I love the sales team that I was working with. I have flexibility. I was working from home and I still knew that it wasn't meant for me. And I think that so many people will stay in something, whether that's a relationship or a job, a city, whatever it is, because it's just like, it's not that bad. And I'm like, but I don't want so, and so I really knew that I wanted to be in service, be in contribution. I really knew that, through my own healing journey, I started to realize that I wanted to facilitate. So I went through my Reiki certification, my breathwork certification, sound healing, tapping, just different practices that I wanted to incorporate in my life, but I also wanted to give to others. And then coaching as well, because the coaches that I had in my life were such huge advocates for me. And they were just so amazing at helping me, really become who it is that I am, that I wanted to offer that to others. And so I found myself sort of at this period it was in July, we actually went to Sedona. And I remember that was when I was contemplating of 2022, do it or don't I? Do I stay in the job or don't, or do I just bite the bullet and say, you know what, it's time. And I just knew in my heart of hearts, I had to let go of the position that I was in, or I just kept envisioning myself. It was again, 2 paths. And I know you've talked about your 2 paths that you saw when you did ayahuasca, or one of the times that you did ayahuasca. And I really saw these 2 paths and I was just okay, I can stay on this path that's comfortable and I can look back and I can still be in sales. Maybe I'll be I don't know, a VP of a territory or whatever in a couple of years, but will I be fulfilled? Will I really and truly be fulfilled? Or do I step into the unknown completely? And do I create? And do I not know what each day looks like, each week, each month, each year, but just do it now? And I had this now or never moment. Sorry, it's a long-winded story, but I had this now or never moment where I was I have to do it right now. So we got back from Sedona and I let my manager know that I'm leaving. which is funny. Most people give 2-week notice. Like I gave 2-month notice because again, I was a great employee. It's a great company. I had a great relationship with the manager, and he was basically like, how long can we keep you? And which feels really good. It feels really good for somebody to be like, how long can we keep you? And I said, end of September. So I'll stay until like I stayed, or maybe actually even almost 3 months because it was 4th of July when we went to Sedona. So stayed
Sorry,
for.
you wrote the email when we were in Sedona, right?
No, I told him in person.
Oh,
Yeah, I told him in person. And most people would write an email, but no, I wanted to tell him, I have enough respect for him, the job, to our relationship, friendship, that I told him. And again, first response was, how long can you stay? So I said end of September. That gave me some leeway. That gave me some time to sort of decide like, okay, what does this look like? What does this truly look like? And so since then I have, really began. And again, because Anna Jones's Wellness Center here in Jersey City, I do events there. So breathwork events, sound healing events. I have one-on-one clients that come in for breathwork sessions. And then I have some coaching clients that I've been working with, since I started that. And the beauty in all of it is like the different iterations, the iteration of who I was in 2021, listening back to that podcast, the iteration of who it is that I was in 2022. 2023 has been a completely different iteration. I love all of them. And I'm so excited for the iteration of ourselves that we're going to meet in the future. And especially how becoming a mama affects my career, because our career and who it is that we are really one and the same, especially when you are the product.
Yeah, you're so inspiring to it's been inspiring to witness this whole journey of yours, because at some point, it's always good to kind of like ease into transitions, big transitions like that. But at some point, you do have to rip the Band-Aid off. It's like, if not now, when would that happen? And people could walk into worlds like one step in, one step out. But to jump into the ocean of the unknown, it takes so much courage. And to, obviously you have me as well as support and things like that. But, so I don't suggest it for someone who doesn't have a supportive partner and just a loving relationship. And also it took, I always tell people, create your runway, whatever your runway looks like, whether that's like financial or that's a number of months. Yeah, you had an entire year of runway that you. But because I knew it was going to happen. I just didn't know when. So I was saving every dollar that I could, but still you have to do it with full knowing and trust in yourself and really surrender to the experience. And I think probably what I envisioned for myself isn't exactly what took place. But again, the work that we do with Dr. Joe and being in the unknown, being in the discomfort with trust has allowed me to do it as gracefully as possible. Sometimes there's some moments that don't always look so graceful, but really just coming back to that and letting things take place. It's really easy to look again, like I mentioned at the beginning, of what it is that you think it's going to look like, how you think it's going to go, and be so attached to that. But that really does a disservice to anyone who is really stepping into the unknown, right? You cannot step into the unknown, but also have an idea of how it has to look. You really have to just kind of let go and know that you're going to fly. Yeah. And set your intention and trust. That's all you can do. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So like now it's a couple years later. Or has it been 1 year? A year and 2 months. A year and 2 months. Yeah. And how do you feel after making that decision? Yeah, so I think there's a lot of things that have happened in our life that wouldn't have been able to happen if I hadn't have let go of that. So I think that I also I think my nervous system needed a little time to relax from the constant stress that maybe I was holding on to from, again, a career in sales where you're pushing yourself, you really want to do well. Again, KPIs, numbers, and the stress of each month having a quota and having to get to by the end of the year. Luckily, I was rather good at my job, but I think that maybe stressed me out even more. But I think my nervous system needed time to relax and rest so that we could conceive. There might have been a little adrenal fatigue. There might have been a little bit of things that were going on that I wasn't really aware of because I wasn't as in touch with my body. So it's really been beautiful to create a career around being so in touch, so in flow, and then working with you on, your business and the wellness center and the way that I do helps to keep me grounded, because there are some deadlines we have to meet or numbers that we're looking at. So it kind of helps me to bring my business sense into that, keep me grounded, but then really be in flow and floaty within my own
brand that I have developed.
And it's very fortunate that you have the tools in order, it's like the perfect tools to kind of like transition out of where you were. And it's so nice to see you helping other people in your one-on-one coaching and also at Home Life. I can't even tell you how many people come up to me and tell me like, I'm not happy in my job. And then, after a few conversations, after working with you, things like that, like somebody came to one of your breathwork courses or sessions, a group event, and literally that first time he did breathwork, he's like, oh my goodness, this is like for me. So he quit his job a couple months later and made this whole plan to like get certified and do all these things. And he's thriving now and creating new businesses. And so many things have opened up for him because of, the conversations you've had with him. You spent almost an hour after the event talking to him and coaching him on stuff. And, it's so important that, our goal in what we do at Home Life is to help people find the truest version of themselves. And it's always an inside job. It's just, we only provide the environment, but for them to really make the decision, look, there's a disconnect in my heart and my brain and my actions.
Yeah.
And if you could combine those all together and you're living with purpose and you're living all congruently, that's when amazing things start to happen. And only when you do that, it's like, the trapeze artists, where they're up on a platform, you can't just jump off the platform with that swing and just stay on that swing. You have to let go and then grab the next swing at the, on the other side. And that's the only time that happens is if you let go of the certainty, swing into uncertainty to grab on to a new opportunity. That's the only way to do it. And unfortunately, that's how it is. There's no safety net. I mean, there is a safety net for trapeze artists, but in life, sometimes there's no safety net.
And it just takes 1 minute, 1 second of courage, right? To change the whole trajectory of your life, right? It just takes either saying yes or saying no, or moving right rather than moving left. Like, it just takes that one moment of courage to really change. Yeah. And I think what's really beautiful about Home Life is, and also reflecting back on the podcast from 2021, is that you talked about the things that were really important in your life, and that was growth, contribution, and love. And when I think of the way that we live and work and love and who we are in our relationships, those are the 3 things that are the most important to us. And that doesn't just mean in our home and in our relationship. That is also like, that's what the business is built on. And so for me to come and work and do events at Anand's Wellness Center and also support the brand, it's really easy for me to do. I wouldn't recommend everyone working together in this sense, but it's really easy to do because growth, contribution, and love are really the basis of and the foundation of who it is that we are, or who our relationship is, and what the business is. So having that conversation for an hour after a breathwork session is not part of the job, right? It's to have the event and do the event. And when the event is over, the guests leave. But that's not how we operate. We have those extended conversations. We want others to see our growth. We want to share our growth. We want them to experience growth. We want to contribute more so and hold space with them for love and just hold that love in our heart. So it really just is a reflection of just who we are in general, who the business is. And it's so beautiful to be a part of.
Yeah. Beautiful. It's so nice to have you because you've added so much fresh ideas and thinking, and you do a lot of the marketing stuff for us. And, you take on so much responsibility that we wouldn't have been able to be as successful without your contributions, because I only know what I know to a certain level. And I try to always be open-minded, but just, allowing or empowering you to do what you do and bringing your ideas, bringing your intelligence, your sales, and all this kind of stuff into the business has been such a blessing. And I just so much appreciate you for taking on, this responsibility for me, because it does open me up to be able to do a lot more things and spread myself out in different ways versus, kind of just doing something that's not my core competency.
Yeah. And it's also, again, like, it's easy to get behind a brand and a business where I was a client of to start with, because obviously I believe in the services. That's why I was a client. It's so easy to support you and your brand, your business, because I believe in you so much, but it's all intertwined in who we are. Your business is, you are part of it. You know, if your business was selling tires or like auto repair shop or something like that, I might struggle to like work together. We might struggle a little bit more.
Marketing content.
Yeah, it's a little.
How many tires can you post?
Yeah, might be a little bit more difficult, but it's in such alignment with who I am that it really has been an easy transition for us to work together for the most part. There are definitely times where we have some disagreements, but we find the middle ground usually.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's all about, just knowing that what is our goal? Our goal is harmony and happiness rather than ego. So I try to, as much as I can, just understand, look, let's try all these new ideas, and then everything is feedback, right? If something works, great. If something doesn't work, okay, we'll try something else. So it's just about not thinking we know everything, in that sense, and just being open to different ideas.
Yeah. You're very open. Sometimes I need a little push to be a little bit more open. It's sometimes my way or the highway. And usually it takes me a little longer to come back into my heart and say, okay, let's find the middle ground. And you're usually right. But regardless,
you're doing great.
It's fun. It's fun to work together in that sense. And it's fun to bring our ideas together and watch things come to fruition. And not to jump forward too much, but 2022 and 2023, since working together, 2023 was the best year that you've had within your business, regardless of some things that have happened over that time and maybe some services being down or whatnot. But you took all those things in such stride and we still came out. So I think, when you have that support, it's so rewarding. And I think that two heads are better than one when manifesting or creating anything. So again, thank you for letting me be part of the team and enjoy in such a way and creating with you.
Thank you. I appreciate you very much. So yeah, going to 2023, now that we've transitioned this year, let me tell you, it has been the most amazing year on so many levels, but it went by so fast. I literally remember going out for dinner on 2023, the New Year's Eve, and then boom, it's like now we're in the same position a year later, but so many things have changed. Yeah. It's just the date is the same. But
when you're pregnant, it's okay for time to go by fast. So it's been okay for this year to fly by because right now I'm 8 months pregnant, a little over 8 months. But yes, the year flew by. But it's been such a rewarding year overall. And I think it started in such a beautiful way with your trip to Egypt, which I keep saying this, but there are many podcasts where Anand talks about Egypt. So
probably like 6 or 7 I've interviewed people that I met on the trip, but just to give you guys an idea for this trip, it was a large investment. It was a big amount of time to go to Egypt, but the opportunity was a once in a lifetime kind of thing. And I originally applied for this trip with. You
have to apply and send even a video and about yourself. They want to make sure, you're coming for the right reasons. You're really going to be there to support the group.
They don't want any assholes in the group. That's good, that kind of thing. But I applied, I got in, and then all of a sudden, some deep rooted fears or uncertainties came up, and I was like, maybe this is not the right time to go. I don't want to leave Kate and Oni for that long. And, I would love to bring her with me. It just wasn't
business.
Yeah, it just wasn't available at the time. Going 12 days or 14 days without being in the business during a really busy time, is it feasible? And I had to sit with it for a little bit. And as soon as I got in, I'm like, you know what, I might just put it on pause because there's so many things going on. And I tell you, usually when I make a decision, I'm cool with it. And I'm fine with it, but I just kept having dreams about Egypt and going in the pyramids, and there were signs. And then all of a sudden, I got another call from a friend of mine who was going, and he said that, look, hey, this is going to be really special.
And just to pause, a friend of ours is someone we met at Dr. Joe Dispenza. Yeah. So talking about the synchronicities and the stepping stones and all the things that we've moved through. He was someone that we actually met in January at the first event that we went to.
Very last day.
We see him again in April. He brings up being in Miami. And I said, what were you in Miami for? Just out of curiosity, because I had lived there. Talks about crypto. Anand's into crypto. So then they hit it off, have a great conversation, and they become really good friends. We see them again in December. So all these things. So this is the friend that, again, part of our Joe Dispenza group, which, just to take a little caveat, a little side note, is the people that we met within those events, those retreats that we went to, are such amazing relationships and amazing people, and so heart heart-centered and heart-based, that they've been a huge part of our life since.
Huge part of our life. And I did
so much so that he's traveling, across country, across the world,
so
with.
if you guys want to listen to the podcast I did with Brandt, it was about our experience inside the Great Pyramids from a few months ago, earlier this year, right when we got back. It was such a special time. But anyways, I decided then that, listen, it keeps coming up in my mind. I'm going to bite the bullet, once in a lifetime opportunity to kind of go and explore. And Egypt is something that I've wanted to do my whole life. When I was a little kid, used to watch cartoons like DuckTales and different things like that. And I've always loved exploring ancient civilizations, ancient knowledge, and the spiritual aspect of it, but also the high technology that they had. And I always felt like I was there in the past and had lifetimes there. And slowly, as I tap more into my subconscious and superconscious, I'm understanding that this is my home for a very long time. So I decided, okay, I'm going to do it. And when I decided that, I just felt so like empowered that I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this, let's just do it right. So I booked my business class tickets over there and, went, luxury all the way because I want to feel those feelings of the abundance and the experience. So I was lucky enough to be able to do that. And then I had the most incredible experience. I met the most amazing people who are some of my closest friends now, and got to interview so many amazing podcast guests because of it. And then the other thing was, it just activated so many things. Being inside the pyramid, like we talked about, we were trying to conceive for a couple of years now. And
at that point, almost 2 years at that point. Yeah.
And then when I laid down inside the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid, I had this otherworldly experience where I left my body. I went into the universe. I met the souls of our future children, and they told me that they're ready to come. And I felt like I was being activated. I had this full Kundalini awakening inside there. It was the most amazing experience that I've probably ever had. And, I come back from that trip all energized. And then a couple months later, we find out some very good news. I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah. So, so many things to also chat about with your trip to Egypt before we get into the baby aspect of it, is that partners sometimes hold each other back, right? And I see it all the time. And I really don't like to witness that. But for me, I was like, go, you need to go. I could have said, okay, yeah. Agree with you. When you send your application, you get approved. And then you're like, no, you know what? I don't know that I want to go. Because I could see that it was taking up space in your mind. You usually, if you make a decision, you don't waver on that decision. And I could see it was taking up so much mental space. And you were very back and forth about it, very back and forth, bringing it up daily. Again, something that you don't do. So I knew, and I hope that I helped to push you and say, it's good. Like, the business will be fine. I'm here to support the business while you're away. Go. And honestly, the business was thriving while he was away. But again, the stories that we tell ourselves is like, I needed there daily, but we were just like, go, you experience and enjoy. And so it's so beautiful to, one, just have that trust in our relationship and the support to push you to go again, which I hope you felt.
I did, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, it was a great opportunity for me to lean into those subconscious fears that I had, maybe some scarcities, maybe some, unknown kind of things, maybe like traveling across the world by myself. Like, I didn't really, a lot of these things came up, I guess, subconsciously, that I had to address and say, okay, why did I feel this feeling of like, maybe I'm not worthy of going and spending this kind of money to go on a once in a lifetime trip. So I had to work through that. And what a blessing, because I had to look through it, look at myself. Okay, where is the disconnect here? Why am I feeling this? And then once I decided to go, like, I lived every single day. There was so much gratitude, and I was meeting so many people. And the minute I got there, I started introducing myself to everyone and literally making an effort to sit down next to people, different people that I didn't know, to get to know their story. And, I was just like, I felt like I was with my soul tribe at that time. And, these people I still talk to on a daily basis. We're on a Telegram chat. We're always like connecting and congratulating each other for milestones in each other's lives. It's and if I didn't do it, I would have missed out on that. And a whole new world opened up to me because of that decision. So whenever we act in courage and act in brave, regard, our lives open up.
Yeah.
When we stay in our stubborn little comfort zones, we stay there. We don't move, we don't grow, we don't expand. And my whole life is about expansion. So anytime I lean into courage, it's always lead to beautiful, beautiful things.
Yeah. And again, so it's beautiful for us to live our separate lives, to be who it is we are individually. Like, I don't know that much about Egypt. I don't have the knowledge that you have about ancient Egyptology and all these things. So it was okay for me to be like, you go, you enjoy, you do that. I'll be here and also, support the business. But then you came back and you share so much of it with me and share some of the relationships. So it's beautiful for me to listen to the podcast with the people that you were there with and the experiences that you've had. But it's also beautiful that some of the individuals that you have introduced me to along the way as well, some that we've done sessions with because they do some healing or whatever it is. But it's really amazing to have it come full circle for us as a couple and allow that and allow the integration of what it was that you went through to also come full circle within our lives and as a couple as well, and not keep that separate.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I can't wait till next time I go to Egypt. You're going to be coming with me. And so is our little boy.
So is our baby. I also believe that I think that you had to unlock something. And there's a book that I read, I'm still reading and rereading, called Spirit Babies. And it talks a lot about having to visit certain places to activate or almost like come in contact with the spirit of your baby. Like, your baby needs you to go there and almost, I don't want to say retrieve them, but bring them back home. And so I really and truly believe that certain things had to happen in our lives individually, certain things had to happen for us as a couple. And I think one of the things for you individually was going there and activating something, whatever it is. Like, I really just have this belief that needed to happen for you in order for us to conceive.
Absolutely. There was several activations going on, but I literally was told that during that out-of-body experience I had inside in the chamber.
Totally. And then once you got back from there, I want to ask you this, is because you are someone who doesn't waver on any decision that you make. And again, this one, you were kind of back and forth, but how do you, like, for me, watching you, the way that you move through life, when you make a decision, that's a decision. You don't think about the what ifs. How do you have that perspective or sort of that courage or that knowing that you really trust your gut so much? Because I sometimes can contemplate and go back and forth, even after I make a decision. Is that right? Is that right? What if? And you're someone who doesn't do that. So how do you think that you come up with your conclusion, your statement, your decision, and you're just like, this is what's happening?
Yeah, so I think it just going into my past and experiences, like I've done a lot of things that didn't pan out the way that I wanted to, or didn't create the fruitions that I wanted. But at the end of the day, it all led me to more lessons. So what is the quote that my cousin said the other day? Something about, you don't go through life, you grow through life.
Oh no, he was asking, you win some and he wanted us to fill in the blank. You win some and we all said you lose some. Yeah. Like, everyone was saying you win some, you lose some. Like, that's a saying. And he was like, no, it's you win some, you learn some.
I said that you learn some.
You got it right. After everybody got it wrong, everyone's like, you win some, you lose some. That's it. That's the phrase. And he's like, no, yes.
So that's what it is. Everything is feedback in life, and everything that you do is divinely planned and divinely orchestrated. So in order to go through life and have that conviction, you just have to know that you are one with God. Everything is one. There's only experience. This is an illusion, this whole life of ours. This is my perspective, by the way. Nobody else has to subscribe to it. But we are source, just experiencing self, conscious experiencing itself, the one experiencing itself. So for me, every time I go in a different path and try a new thing, try new action, I'm adding to the source of knowledge of the universe and consciousness of the divine. So there's nothing to fear when you have that connection, and that knowing that, eventually I'm here for a short amount of time. I'm going to return back to that beautiful place of creation. Yeah. And just having these experiences that I've had in life, is just knowing, hey, listen, what is there to fear?
Right. You're okay falling and getting back up, or learning a lesson and getting back up. I guess you wouldn't even call it falling. Like, whatever.
That's happened many times in my life, right?
But you wouldn't even
more times than I've had successes.
But you wouldn't even look at it that way. You would look at it as a lesson. So that's why you're able to make decisions and to say, this is it. This is what we're doing. This is how we're moving forward. And if we have to shift or change along the way, we have to pivot. That's okay too.
Yeah. And one of those, an example of that is this year, we decided to make some big changes at my business, at Home Life, and introduce this new technology, the energy enhancement system. And, first of all, it was a huge cost. And secondly, in order to bring it to the business, there had to be a lot of changes because we needed to create space. So we went from 9 treatment rooms, income producing rooms, to 5.
Yeah.
And in order for us to make this happen, opening up the loft space to put this new system in, and there was a lot of stuff going on. There was a lot of construction. I had to sell some of the equipment, or some of them I couldn't even sell. So we had to move those out, and we were.
If anyone's looking for cryotherapy, we have a cryotherapy machine in storage.
In storage. So there was so many things that had to happen, so much changes, and we had to really be proactive about communicating with our members and our guests and things like that, and the construction and all these things. And only until the end of the year, so about 5 or 6 months, we were down from 9 treatments that were making money to 4 or 5. And obviously we did the best we could in terms of how everything kind of like unfolded. But at the end of the day, if you look back on it, it's like we had our best year ever, with half the amount of services.
Yes.
And now we put ourselves in a position to have this new technology, and it's only been about a month going on now, and everybody's been loving it. It's the most popular thing that we're offering right now, and it's providing so much more value and so much more, I guess, contribution to what we're doing itself at Home Life. And it's very collaborative with everything else we're doing. So this energy enhancement system, along with floating and saunas and cold plunges and all this kind of stuff, it's all working so well together.
And just to go back to the earlier part of 2023 of this year, is that once you got back from Egypt, you only had 2 or 3 days home before you went to a training for this new technology, and to see if it was the right technology that was going to come into your space and what that could look like, and sort of do some planning, research, and really understanding. But I think because you, again, my opinion is that because you were coming off of your trip from Egypt, the lens that you were seeing life from was just so positive and uplifting. And you were just in this frequency of abundance, and things work out, and life is beautiful, sacred geometry, like all this stuff was just really cycling through you, that I think that you went. And even though I don't know how it could have looked if you went to the conference, the training, and not have gone to Egypt, but you were just in such a high frequency that I think you attracted that conference, attracted the yes that you said, the investment that you made, the time that you made, because you were just in this flow with life.
Yeah, like not a lot of people travel to Saginaw, Michigan. Well, I think it's like Mount Pleasant, Michigan, in the middle of winter.
March.
It's it's freezing. Early March there. There's ice on the roads. It's not like I had to take 2 planes, one to Detroit and then one to Saginaw.
Right.
It was like, it wasn't the most ideal trip to do in winter.
But and it would think of if you hadn't just been in Egypt, if you're just like traveling Jersey winter to Michigan winter, like, it might be in a little bit lower of a frequency, like not in that high vibe that you were in.
Right. But going in with that energy, like literally the first conference break, it was like the first day at 10 in the morning, got online to get some coffee. And who was like in front of me, this one girl, Emily, who's a good friend of mine now. She owns one of these energy enhancement centers in Connecticut. And she was talking to somebody else, and they were talking about Dr. Joe Dispenza. And all of a sudden my ears just perked up. And then the person she was talking to was talking about Tony Robbins. I'm like, oh yeah, I did Tony Robbins. I did Joe Dispenza. And we were talking about like all these amazing commonalities. And she introduced me to a few people that, are higher ups in the energy enhancement. So it's like this beautiful flow of connections. And these people are really important in my life and have helped and guided me in many ways. And then learned a lot at that conference. And then from there, I decided, okay, I'm going to go forward with this and, put in the kind of the investment and everything to make this happen. Put in a lot of time over the months. Took 8 months to just get the technology from the time ordered it. And in the meantime, so the last day of the conference, which is one of my favorite stories and one of the favorite experiences, is so whenever you and I travel together, we're always making magic. We're always meeting people and having really heart-based conversations. And it's not uncommon for me to meet somebody in 5 minutes and start hugging them as we're leaving. And this happens at Home Life. This happens kind of anywhere we go when we're bringing in.
Yeah. And I just want to chime in that you're so good at finding commonality with anyone. Like, it doesn't matter who it is, where they come from, how old they are, like you will sit at a table and you'll find some commonality. And I think it's so cute to witness, but it's so beautiful because you love human interaction. And so you always find that like you said, when you got to Egypt, you were meeting people and you were talking with all of them, wanting to know their stories. And the same thing when you were at this conference and probably everywhere that you ever go in life. And I love witnessing it. So just so you know,
I love people, and I'm able to, I don't know, see or feel. I'm able to feel their heart. I'm able to feel their soul. So when I see somebody, I'm able to kind of really tap into that. So I know the love that they have, and sometimes I can just sense things about them. And I'll give you an example. So the last day the conference ended, and then flying out the next morning and stop in at a coffee shop that also is a wellness center that have floats and saunas and in the, inside their space. It's called Pure Vitality in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. I think that's where it is. But anyways, I go in and I see the countertop, and I'm saying, oh, hey, is the owner's here, because I wanted to meet them, just being in the fellow industry, colleagues and whatnot. And all of them look at each other. There's three people,
all owners,
a young guy, young woman, and a mom kind of, and they all look at each other and they're like, they all raise their hand. They're like, oh, we own it together. It's a family business. And it's just like, I was like, this is amazing. So I was just telling them, like, I have a wellness center. We do very similar things, saunas, floats, whatnot. I love the fact that you guys have a cafe and do breakfast and juices and all this kind of stuff. So one of the owners, he brings me around and shows me the place, and literally we only were going to go for breakfast and like a couple of minutes. We ended up staying there for 3 hours, and the time just flew by. And I was telling him about my trip to Egypt. I was, we were talking about the business and psychedelic experiences and just the most amazing conversations. I still keep in touch with these guys, and it's just so beautiful because there's so many beautiful souls in this world. And the more we can keep our hearts open, we can have these deep connections with anyone we pass on the street. But if we look at somebody like, oh, they don't look like somebody that we would like, right? Just making these kind of like judgments in our heads. So one of the things I really try to focus on is just like being present with people and just allowing them to open up their heart. And that's the thing I don't really care about, is like, oh, what somebody does, what their status is. I really want to know what's inside your heart. And I guess that's why I'm finding these people, or we're attracting these like-minded people at these events and different places that we go to, is because the tribe is searching for each other. We're entering such a new wave of humanity now, and as much as things look crazy on one end, the pendulum swings the other way, and there has to be balance. So as much darkness as there could be in the world, the light is actually getting stronger and stronger. And what I notice is people are waking up to their truest essence, their divine essence. And we're entering this really amazing 2024 kind of like frequency with solar flares and the sun like expanding, and more light and photons and everything like that of the earth. It's time for an awakening. And what's so beautiful is that it's happening, and the tribe and all these people are coming together.
Yeah. And I think we can go through life with blinders on, sort of in a sense of, we have these goals for our life and what it has to look like. And when we have blinders on, we're not looking to the right and to the left. We're not looking like all around to see like all the beauty that actually exists in our life. And I think so we sometimes do that with people as well, as we kind of have blinders on, or we're not open, our heart's not open. We're not like looking at them as a soul. We are sort of living in or making judgment or just sort of an assumption of someone and who it is that they are, rather than just, taking away those blind spots and opening up our heart to who it is that they are and what it is that they offer. And so many people have came into our lives in the past couple of years that are, huge aspect of our life today, but we wouldn't have met them if we were just kind of living with blinders, right? And so again, thank you for opening my world to that, because you're always willing to have conversation with anyone and everyone. But it's really amazing to witness the human interaction and the connections that you make when you just give a little bit of space for that to happen.
Yeah, and it's about like ourselves looking at life. And we always use this windshield example. If you have a windshield with a bunch of like, you've been driving on the highway for a long time, you have all these bugs and fleas and all these like dirt, it's hard to see, right? So when we have these filters of like, oh, this person looks like somebody I hated in the past, or this person doesn't look like they're as fit as as I am, or whatever it is, it's like having these kind of filters that muddy the water in terms of who they are. And if we have these preconceived notions, that's what we're projecting on them, and that's what we're going to get back. So it's everything is a mirror. So looking at everybody as this mirror, that you are him or her and they are you, and just understanding that we're all here to love. We're all here to do our best and evolve.
Yeah. the oils that we have that we're taking with us when we have the baby?
Oh, yes.
Is that from
That's from them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we have, as we're packing our bag for the birthing center where we'll give birth, we wanted to bring some essential oils with us. And so the essential oils that we're bringing were actually sent and gifted from this individual that Anand met when he was in Michigan, again, opening up the conversation. So you never know like what little part of someone's life or huge part of someone's life you're going to play. That just started by asking
one question.
Are the owners here? I'd like to introduce myself. I have a wellness center, also, and becomes friendly. And now part of them and something that they have gifted us is coming with us.
They're going to be a part of
our baby. Like these are huge things, and you never know how you're affecting someone's life. And
every interaction.
We don't know how we're affecting someone's life, but if you're like living from your heart and you're living in your truth and in alignment, and just being a good, kind person can go a long way. You never know who's thinking of you right now.
100%. So yeah, as we move further into 2023, let's get into the birth story.
Yeah. So we conceive. I feel like the word conceive feels like so old.
Created.
I don't know. So we conceived in May of this year. And
right around Mother's Day.
Yeah, right around Mother's Day. So I think also like there's a little energy of like Mother's Day. And one thing I will say is, for me individually, and for any women who are trying to conceive and it's not happening right away, it's really easy to get frustrated. It's really easy to take a test, pregnancy test comes out negative, and you get frustrated. Like I went through that cycle, and I actually stopped taking pregnancy tests because I was like, I'm gonna know, I'm gonna know when my boobs start hurting and my period doesn't come for a month, maybe 2 months, because I'm like, I'm just not taking a test because I'm not gonna put myself mentally through that. And so, but I really started opening up to friends of mine. I started opening up to friends of mine where maybe I hadn't really before. And a lot of mama friends that I have made here in Jersey City, I started just talking to them about what it was that we were going through, and not in a like, woe is me way, but very much in a, it's going to happen for us. It hasn't happened yet. Like, I wouldn't say seeking advice, but just being open to having the conversation and not holding it all in, because I don't think that it was doing me any good just to hold that in, hold all of that energy and frustration in. So I started talking to a lot of people, and people started offering some advice and ways of thinking of it or looking or sharing their story as well. So one, I think opening up is really big. And I also felt myself for some time, again, 2+ years trying, and I felt myself really seeing other people that it was happening for. Some people are on baby number 2 at this point, while we're still trying for baby number 1, and taking some of that frustration and being very triggered by it. But I just kept sending them love. Like I just kept seeing that happening for someone else. I remember being in my, Legree, a form of Pilates class. And the lady next to me, she's now a friend of mine, is very pregnant. And I remember just like, I kept looking at her belly and sending her beautiful energy, and like knowing that was going to be me, like knowing that was meant for me, just like, not like looking at her and being triggered by, oh, it's happening for someone else, but not me, which is really easy to get into that mentality. But I just kept sending them love, and like, they are so great. And there's she's happy and she's healthy and she's here, and taking that mama energy and saying like, I'm just going to kind of like engulf myself in that same mama energy. And I think it went a long way. To not sit in the woe is me through the period where it wasn't happening for us.
Yeah. I think it's important to.
I'll take a pause for a second. Also, because I need to catch my breath.
For sure. So I didn't witness you really. I guess we talked about it a little bit. There was some like, okay, it's not happening yet. But it wasn't much during the time in which we were conceiving. We were very aware of like, your pregnancy or your conception windows and things like that. And
but I didn't come to you every time I took a test and say like, oh, it's negative. Like I didn't need to do that. But I did it on my own, right? I did it. I sat with it. I sat with the feelings. I sat with the emotions, but I didn't bring it to you every time. But there was a lot that was going on internally.
A lot of emotional things. I think that, you started making friends with some ladies in the building that had children, and spending time with them, going for walks with them, and kind of just like opening up that possibility of the feeling. Even like you told me like one day you were like holding the stroller and like rolling it.
Oh, I was pushing the stroller. The baby was having a meltdown. So mama was helping the baby and had the baby, and I'm pushing the stroller. I went into the store here in Jersey City by myself one day. That's a baby store. And I just like bought something because I just wanted to be in the energy of, because I know how important that is. So I kept putting myself in the energy of being around babies, of motherhood, having conversations. And I think that set us up also, along with all the other things that we did. But yeah, so we find out in early June that we are pregnant. We decided at this point that we should go to see an OBGYN and maybe start to look into, okay, after 2+ years, why hasn't it happened? Maybe start doing some tests and some stuff.
For both her and myself.
For both, yes. And so he comes with me. Normally I probably wouldn't go to the OBGYN with me. I'd probably go by myself and come home and tell him all about it. But he comes with me. And they ask for the urine sample test when you come in, and the nurse comes in and she's like, did you miss your period? And I'm like, I'm a day late, but I stopped taking tests a long time ago because I started getting frustrated. So blah, 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 blah. And she's like, well, I think you're pregnant. And I was like, what? And we both just sat there. Like, I don't even know if we really had a response. I think like it didn't hit home yet. We were both just kind of like stared at her for a moment and just like, what? Which is funny because before we left for that visit, do you remember?
Tell me.
We were standing in the hallway here, like right by the bedroom door. And I remember
right by the dog gate.
Yeah, I remember telling you, I'm like, I keep having this feeling that I'm pregnant. I feel like I'm getting so worked up about it. We're getting ready to leave for the doctor. I feel like she might come in and be like, you're already pregnant. And I'm like, but I'm setting myself up for failure. I have this expectation that this is what's going to happen. And now I'm going to be like so disappointed when it doesn't happen. And I remember I was like crying. I was telling you like, I do this my whole life. And I always have all these expectations. Remember, I even said like, I remember saying like, I remember going to prom and thinking that I was going to feel like a princess, and I didn't feel like a princess. Like I was really worked up about it. But then we go there and exactly what I thought was going to happen happened, but I was still startled. I was still surprised. I was still not expecting that. So that's how we found out. It wasn't like any.
Yeah. And we were going just to see,
start the process,
tests and things like that. And it was incredible. And what's so funny is, so May 14th or whatever was right around the time of conception. And you got like really tired that weekend. And you slept a lot. And for the first time, our dog was sleeping on your belly, which he never did that. And it just kind of showed us like maybe he knew before. And also, your body was telling you just rest for a little bit as this creation, this spark of life is happening. So they even show like there's these, they do these like little, I guess, sonograms where they see that the moment of conception, there's this little spark of light that comes in when the sperm and the egg collide and create life. And that's light is life, right? And it's incredible to see that this is happening inside you. And this pregnancy there's a lot of things that have happened. You've been you make so many preparations, and I just can't wait to see you as a mom, because you're such an amazing dog mom right now. And you've had so much experience, like connecting with and taking care of young babies. And I know you're going to be the best mom ever. And I am so excited to be your partner and to show this baby love. And one of my favorite thoughts and quotes is a child that is loved can do anything. And we could read all the books on parenting, and probably Kate's read many of them, and I've read some of them. And we could do all that, but at the same time, really the most important thing is that baby to know that they are loved. When they know that they're loved, the world opens up to them.
Yeah, and I think becoming a parent is always stepping into the unknown. And they always say, like, I don't know if anyone is ever ready for it. And I don't know that we're ready for it, right? But we're going to step into the unknown. And all that we do know is that this baby has two people that love him unconditionally. And we know that that is enough. And I think that we have a strong intuition, and I'm really leaning into my mama instincts. And we know that that's enough, right? Like, we have the foundation that we have built in our home, within our relationship. And I truly believe that even though this is unknown for us, uncharted territory, I know that there's such love between us that it's it's all going to be beautiful and blissful. And this pregnancy has been absolutely blissful to share all of it, even the pains with you. And, everyone always asks like, when you're having a boy or girl, did you care? Did you care if it was a boy or girl? And certainly I didn't care whether it was a boy or a girl, but, we are having a boy. And the most beautiful thing for me to feel is if this baby gets every quality of yours and absolutely none of mine, like I'm okay with that because I love you so much that I'm like so okay with the fact that it might be like a little version of you running around. And I actually remember giving this advice to a friend who was like contemplating a relationship with someone. And I was like, think about it this way. She wanted to have kids. And I was like, if you want to have children, if this little human is literally your partner at the time, and mimics exactly, are you okay with that? And she was like, oh God, no, because the things that this person was making her feel. And I'm just so excited for him to mimic you and mirror the way that you love on me, that you love on Oni, our pup, and who it is that you are as a person, because I'm okay if he gets every quality of yours.
I love you. And I feel the same exact way. I know how loving you are, how much of yourself you're going to give to this baby, and all the lessons and all the magic that you'll share. And I know that, all we have to do is just live our lives, and the baby will understand and see and learn from the lessons. And, they'll mimic the way we live.
Yeah.
Not so much what we say, but how we act. Mm-hmm. And if we're in congruency, and like little baby, trying to get in the camera here. But it's going to be all good. And anytime in the past, in our lives individually, in our lives together, we've stepped into the unknown, only amazing things have happened. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be our greatest journey together.
Yeah.
And, going forward, now that we kind of caught ourselves up to the present moment, we're only 30 days away.
We also got married.
We also got married too, which was
but that's like such a side note, and all the other beautiful things that have happened. We're just like,
it was
already married. Like in our minds, we were already married.
It was a beautiful ceremony with family. It was very intimate, and it was so nice as we finished our ceremony in front of eyes of God and eyes of both of our families and hearts. We were leaving the ceremonial hall, and we were being showered with flowers, and that was one of the most beautiful experiences. It was felt very psychedelic in a way, because in our culture, in our religion, in Hindu religion, you embody and encompass God's energy that day when you combine and you unite the sacred masculine and the divine feminine. When they come together, that's the embodiment of God. That's the balance. That's the yin and the yang. And it felt like we were that day. Yeah. And that energy is with us all the time, and to create life. And, it's so important for me and for you and for our family to kind of be present for that. So it was one of the best days of our lives. Yeah. And it was so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So now 30 days away from being a mama, what are you looking forward to most about motherhood?
About motherhood. So I mean, so many things, but I think it's really just leaning into, again, what I just had mentioned, leaning into my mama instincts, like getting to know my baby, not putting pressure on what it's going to look like for me and how it looks externally and how others are doing motherhood, and really just doing what is best for our family. And it's something that we've learned along the way, is just doing what's best for you and I, and having to make some decisions along the way. Even the way that we're having the baby at a birthing center versus a hospital is probably very different than what other people would expect of us, coming from you coming from a family of doctors, right? That is a little abnormal this day and age. And so making decisions that are best for our family. So I really and truly know, like, you and I are on the same team, and I know that we will be making every decision that's best for this baby. And so it's really just leaning into getting to know who he is and who we are, and this iteration of ourselves. Like, I'm so excited for this new iteration of our relationship. And again, leaning in is what I keep coming up with when I keep thinking about the year that's to come, is just leaning into all of it. Like, childbirth so here is painful. Like leaning into that pain. How do I accept that pain? How do I accept the sleepless nights? How do I lean into maybe slower days with this baby? How do I just lean fully into what my intuitive inner knowing, like the innate knowledge that I know that I have, and the wisdom of, the mama bear that's in me?
Yeah, so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be magical.
Yeah. What about you? What's your 2024?
Stepping into fatherhood, stepping into creational forces,
Mm-hmm.
and to live without any fears,
Mm-hmm.
because knowing that, just be happy with the way life turned out to this point, be grateful for everything that I have in here in my life, and know that it's only going to get better, and to be really present with my baby, to be really present with you and Oni, and create more freedom in terms of time, so that I can be there as much as I want to be there, in which is every day, every moment of my day. So really creating more freedom of time with the business and all that kind of stuff. But we're setting ourselves up in such an amazing way that we'll be able to do so many things and create this life, and really just move on to the next level of this beautiful life.
Yeah. Do you have any words of wisdom that you want to leave your Limitless One podcast listeners with?
Yeah,
anything that's came up from 2023?
Yeah, I think life is a reflection of our thoughts, and the more we can focus on what we want, the more we can focus in love and gratitude, the more we're going to get back. And if we're focusing on things that are lower vibration, then that's also a reflection. But it's an important lesson and opportunity to kind of lean into, to understand why these things are happening, or why these thoughts are coming. So, it's important for us to be ahead of that and control what we're thinking, rather than letting our thoughts control us.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. How about you?
So, one thing I've been talking a lot about on my Instagram, and something again that keeps coming up when I'm reflecting, is that when I left prior years, I was like so excited for the year to end, a new fresh start, new year. And for me, I've really been looking back at the last couple of years, and 2020 ended, and I was like a little sad to see that year go, because it was such an amazing year. 2021, it was sad to see that year go, because it was just so rewarding. And same thing with 22. And now that 23 is ending, I'm just sitting in such gratitude for this year. And of course, I'm so excited to meet our baby. But there's this part of me that's like, oh, I love this. I love this year. And I think everyone should feel that way at the end of the year. And so I guess if someone is ending the year, I guess probably this podcast will come out obviously in 2024. But if you're starting the year and you ended the year waiting for that fresh start, like what's going to change for you? Like I had to really own up to the fact that I had to make changes in my life and really create that change for myself. And so I think everyone should be ending each and every year on such a high note, with such gratitude and with just such like love in their heart, that I really and truly want everyone to experience that. So whatever it is that you need to do individually, personally, for anyone who is listening, there's always so much to be grateful for. So lean in, find that, connect to your heart, connect to your truth, find your most aligned self, take inspired action, whatever it is for you.
Find your community, like-minded people.
You won't regret it. And I can't wait to end 2024 and see like it was just such a magical year, and how this keeps happening year after year. Yes, there's like good and bad that happens throughout a year, but when you end it and you're just like, damn, that was such a year. It's so beautiful to be able to experience. And
we're so blessed.
Yeah.
Thank you for being my wife.
Thank you for being my husband.
I love you. Happy New Year, everybody. We love you so much and are sending you so much magic in the upcoming year. Thank you for listening and joining in.